I believe that now in this generation, in this decade of these young adults, transitioning into this next part of their lives, and even kids who are going a bit like younger. Okay, so let's say like the age of 15 through, the age of I think 30. This age range specifically, I believe people in there are having a harder time trying to make a living and trying to get by. I believe it is harder for this generation of people to become successful and to truly like find their purpose. I believe it's harder for them to do that more than any other generation in the entire course of human history. Okay, and that might be crazy to say, and I definitely get it because you might be thinking it's like, what about these guys like 100 years ago who didn't have the internet, who didn't have resources to electricity, to heating, to cooling, um, and you can make a strong argument, you can make a strong argument about that, um, of these guys who were so tough, like tougher than nails, who truly like lived like, and even if you want to go farther back, like living out in the wild. All right, and I guess maybe we can exclude them, but I think in the course of like the past, I think 100 years, I believe that this generation is more screwed and is the hardest to try and get going, and I believe we have it harder than everybody else. Okay, and essentially the reason is if you look back like 60 years ago, okay, um at a kid our age, okay, 60 years ago, he was working his ass off, right? He was probably, I mean, for where I'm from, maybe like out in the fields, okay, maybe farming, doing whatever, like, putting in hours and hours and hours of sweat labor in a day, just for like, just a little pay, right? I mean, just a little bit of money they were earning every single day, right? And they were working tirelessly, and they didn't have all the access to things that we do now, right? But the reason the reason every generation before ours was able to do stuff like that was because they didn't have anything else to do. They weren't distracted. They didn't have other things that they could be doing because they didn't have access to anything else. That was it for them, right? And like the farther you go, I believe like the farther you look back into history, the more fulfilled people were, right? Like you see people who were our age 60 years ago who are now in this generation, they're the happiest people, right? I mean, they're just joyous. Like you'll see an old couple that has been together for 60 years, and you wonder how they got there, right? And they're just like, dude, we were grateful, we were fulfilled, we loved each other, and that's something we don't have in this generation. Now, I'll go into that later. But like I was saying, the reason why they were able to do all these things, to work tirelessly every single day, and just for a little pay, and still like get by and be perfectly fine and end up in the place that they are now, is because they found fulfillment in what they did. Okay, and they weren't distracted, and they didn't have anything else to do. Okay, as opposed to us nowadays. Okay, we might have like all the resources in the world, like especially now with the evolution of AI and everything we can do, right? And in some arguments, you could say it's never been easier to actually become successful now, because your competition is so low. But that's my point: is everybody is just screwed, right? Because you have people my age. First of all, I mean, the mental health rates, especially in men, they're the lowest it's ever been. Okay, suicide rates are just skyrocketing, right? I mean, there are more people offing themselves now than ever. Okay, especially young men because they're losing their purpose, right? And a lot of it, I think, which I'll get into it later, but a lot of it has to do with lust, right? And that has become one of, if not, I believe, maybe the biggest distraction that has changed the course of human history, and which is why young men aren't who they were 60 years ago, is because of lust. And I'll go into that later. But I think, I think one of the bigger problems, the more broad problems, is just the access to social media itself, the access to just distractions as a whole, right? You have so many things that you can be doing, right? But the biggest thing, the biggest time waster of everything now in this generation is this doom scrolling addiction that has 95% of our generation in a chokehold, right? They're sitting for hours and hours and hours. Like I'm talking some people like over 10 hours a day sitting doing this stuff on social media. Okay, they can't even last 2 seconds on a video before they scroll, right? And they're just rotting their brain of all this degeneracy and intaking all of this stuff that is useless, like this new brain rot degenerate shit content that's being posted out nowadays at such a high frequency. And they're taking all of this and they're ruining their lives, right? That's a distraction. Another distraction, especially for the young men, and this is the most important one, right, is lust. Okay? And I kind of want to start by, the whole like Love Island stuff that's going on right now. That seems to like have the attention of a lot of people nowadays. Okay, everybody's falling in love with Love Island. And the reason is I think like a lot of shows how they have progressed over the years, and that's another reason why people are just like losing their attention span and, getting into worse of a spot with their own lust is the course of these producers, these TV producers who produce movies, who produce TV shows. They are implying more of this sexual aspect into their shows, and it's making these men like go crazy, right? Love Island, of course, for example, what it does is it's essentially promoting this hookup culture, right? Of just dating somebody just to do things, like sexually with them. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? And it's promoting this hookup culture and this like breakups and all of these terrible things that you should not be doing, right? And they post like they film these girls, these young women on there who have no respect for themselves in these clothes that are just so skimpy. It's like they're wearing next to nothing, right? And things like that, and things like access to social media where these girls are posting, I mean, pictures of themselves, videos on themselves wearing next to nothing for the camera to make money. And that essentially leads to things like the hub. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? And corn and all of these terrible, terrible things that have destroyed, completely changed the course of young men's history, right? It has changed everything. It has destroyed like 99% of young men in this society are dealing with a lustful problem, okay? And that is, I believe, if not the biggest reason why, especially young men nowadays, they have it so hard, right? And the truth is, it's everywhere. You can go on social media, the first thing that pops up is maybe an ad for something that's not good, or maybe it's a picture of a girl that is in a bikini or something, and then you go to your Reels tab and you start scrolling, and you're taking more of that, okay? And it's just building up that temptation, and essentially what that leads to is things like the hub, okay? And I don't understand honestly how that is still a thing. I don't understand why it's still a thing, with the damage that it's caused to young men as a whole, in this generation. But it is, okay? And of course, I can't do anything about that. But to whoever watches this video, like, you have to stop, man. You have to stop. And it's those things, right? It's these very small little things that lead to bigger and bigger problems. Okay, these girls posting themselves on social media, and these people that are not like not so much the lust aspect, but these guys that are like posting these brain rot degenerate style videos and content at such a high frequency that is all people consume nowadays, right? And then on top of all this, you have the problems with drugs, you have the problems with alcohol, you have the problems in person, okay, in personal relationships. Like even like going back to the lustful aspect, these guys have been indulged in so much of this sinful, lustful nature that, guys, the percentage of men that are actually asking out girls nowadays is so disastrously low, and it's never been this low before. And that's not how it was 60 years ago, right? I mean, you see, like I tying back to the elderly couple who's been married for 50 plus years. They started dating like in their teens, and they actually stuck through it. When do you see that nowadays? You don't see that anymore, right? It is because of stuff like this, okay? Most importantly, this lust, right? And I mean, you go and ask any guy. I mean, any most guys now are just too scared. They're too scared to ask out a girl, and the reason is because they don't have confidence. They don't have confidence with themselves. They don't have any self-esteem, and that's exactly what lust. The things like the hub and doing these degenerate things. I don't like to say the very cliche term gooning. Um, that is a very overused, I believe, this cliche term nowadays to I mean, you guys know what it means. But these men who are partaking in these actions like this, they don't have any confidence anymore. You know how you feel after you do something like that, right? You feel terrible. You feel like you're just the worst human being ever. And that does nothing good for you, right? Because all you're doing is just lowering your self-esteem, you're lowering your confidence. And that's why no young men they can't ask out any girl anymore, okay? They're too scared. They're haunted by the fear of rejection, and they're like, even for those men that actually do get in a relationship, okay, they are still haunted by this lustful desire, right? And that's why nobody can actually stick into a relationship anymore, okay? These men go after these women just for their own like bodies, right? And they are dating just to do these sinful things with the woman or whatever. And it could be the other way around. Maybe girls are trying to do that with guys, whatever, right? But that's it's so detrimental, and that's why we don't see people who are sticking in relationships in their own teen years anymore. I mean, that it's unheard of now, and it's almost looked like down upon because, like I said, the hookup culture has been so normalized nowadays that long relationships, especially starting young, are looked down upon. Okay, people think you're weird for dating to marry at a young age. Like, no, because they're so indulged in this lifestyle of the hookup culture, of partying, of going to bars every single weekend, getting drunk, and bringing home a new girl every single weekend. Right? That no. Okay, that is why we have such weak men in this society, and that's why nobody has any purpose. Nobody's going anywhere. Okay. So that's why, I mean, including like the drugs and the alcohol, that kind of goes hand in hand with the whole like party hookup culture, right? I mean, because it's everywhere. Okay, drugs have never been so accessible. Alcohol has never been so accessible. I mean, you see kids. I mean, of course, kids 60 years ago still. I mean, I still assume they drank and stuff like that, but nowadays, I mean, everybody's doing stuff. I mean, like vapes and smoking and doing all this stuff at such a young age, destroying their own bodies, and they don't even, maybe they do know it, but they just don't care enough, and they don't have any willpower to become successful, to drive after something that's actually going to make them better, and maybe buy back their time in the future. I mean, nobody has that anymore, right? And that's why I believe it is harder than ever for somebody who is down in the gutter. And by I mean down in the gutter, I mean who is addicted to doom scrolling, addicted to the sins of the flesh, who is indulged in this culture, this hookup culture. That's why I believe it is so hard for them to actually get somewhere in life, and why I believe it's been harder than ever. Okay, it's harder now than it's ever been, okay? Because there are so many things that are getting in the way of their own success. Water break. Hold on. And another thing as well is I believe I don't like to talk about politics, right? And I'm not going to talk about politics. That's not who I am, okay? Of course, I have my own values and whatever. But like, with wars going on, with political tension here and there, or like it's created a younger generation of people who are just so insanely pissed off, and nobody knows how to agree to disagree anymore. And it's led to so much political violence, and like you'll go online and you'll see something that was posted that has some political meaning behind it, and dude, I mean, you go look at the comment section and it is just filled with hate, people arguing, people fighting, doing whatever. I mean, there's just such a divide, right? A divide that we've never seen before like this on this scale. Okay, and that's another reason. I mean, there's just, guys, there are so many things, so many distractions everywhere, right? And I believe they've all but been put in place for a reason to kind of kind of keep people inside this rat race of uh, these problems with their mental health and not finding their purpose. I believe it's harder than ever. Okay, I mean, but it's also on the flip side, guys, if you're still watching this video, if you truly have adopted a mindset better than, I mean, 90% of the younger generation out there, and you have a mindset like mine, where you truly just want to improve in the most amount of ways possible. Okay, you want to improve in every single aspect. You want to um, become successful. You want to become consistent in the gym. I mean, whatever it is, right? Strong mindset. You're so far ahead. Okay, you are so far ahead of everybody, because nobody has that. Nobody understands me. Nobody understands my mindset, what I think about. Okay, nobody understands my goals, because uh, it's so against the culture nowadays, and they think it's just like, dude, like what the hell are you doing, man? So, like I said, if you have this mindset, you have no competition. You don't have any competition. You don't have anybody stopping you or getting in the way of you becoming that version of yourself that has all of these achievements made, okay, has all of these goals achieved. And the only thing, I guess, in the end that's stopping you is you yourself, okay, your own fear of people telling you what to do, okay, or judging you or thinking about you or whatever it is. Like, that fear might hold you back, but dude, you're so far ahead already that whatever you do, you just truly have to believe it's for the best, right? And it will be. All right, so if you have watched to the end of this video, I truly hope you have realized the amount of distraction that you just see in your day-to-day life. And I think what something I want you to do if you're watching this is, I mean, go through like on a day-to-day and just realize times where you're picking up the phone, looking through Instagram, scrolling on TikTok, whatever. Look for those times where you just sit and you sit and you scroll, okay? And you'll be so surprised at how often you actually do it, and you'll realize how hard it is to stop. I mean, it's hard. And I think something that will help is to download an app blocker. That's always a plus. But yeah, I mean, it's just stuff like that, right, guys? And just realize the amount of distraction that is in your life and try to cut down on it as much as possible, okay? And especially for you guys dealing with the sins of the flesh, okay? Because that is so insanely important to leveling up your life, especially as a man in every aspect. The only thing you can do is flee from it. Do not fight that temptation. Do not fight that urge. Don't think you're powerful, because you're not, okay? The devil himself is behind this, and he is more powerful than you. I know you hate to hear that, but the only person more powerful than the devil is God, okay? He's the only one that's more powerful than the devil. So if you turn to God, if you flee from those temptations, you turn to God, you pray, you're going to help, okay? It's going to help you. It's going to get you out of that temptation, and you're going to grow, Okay, so guys, I appreciate you for watching this video. God loves you. May God bless you, and I will see you guys in the next one.